level understanding of mindfulness. And after that, I started a gratitude journal where I wrote until like 50 days on what I'm thankful for in each day and stuff like that. So that, I mean, it's a very naive understanding. I have a friend who is into mindfulness, and he introduced me to this last year.
So what is your, you are giving me in more or less, calming the mind, pockets of silence, and these are things, relaxing, so on and so forth. Anything else? Anything else?
Your voice is breaking.
Now, I was asking, is there, you are giving certain definitions or inputs on what is meditation or mindfulness,
Yeah.
like pockets of calmness, or, some Vignesh told me it is like, learning to be calm and those stuff. Is there more to it? Is there anything else you like to add to it? Or, I'm just trying to understand so that,
I mean, what my friend.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I understand is that all the answers to all the problems that we face it is within us, and it's up to us to understand those. I mean, to find the solutions from within rather than finding it outside of us.
See, whoever that friend might be, right? So we are all probably. I'm not trying to judge that friend or do anything with that friend. I do not know whether he's X, Y, or Z, whether he's whoever it is. I'm just trying to understand whether we are just going by definitions or is it an actuality? Is it a reality? If somebody says everything is within us, is it merely a statement or is it an actuality, a reality to live by?
From what I understand, it's more like connecting with our inner self through this calming. By calming, it helps in everyday activities.
What do you mean by this inner self? What do you mean by the self? These are you not using mere words, or not just you? A lot of people, even people who write books, self-knowledge, self, soul, self, all these things. When they what do they really mean by it? See, if I do not know what is myself, whether it is inner self or outer self, what is myself? How do I connect with it?
My thoughts, I should not be identifying myself with my thoughts. Like, thoughts are like...
No, if you're, please, one statement by statement. You go, yes. See, every word reveals something about us. Every single word reveals something about us. When you say, I should not be identifying with my thoughts, it's like, your thoughts saying the same thing. What's the difference? You understand my point? Yes. When somebody says that I should not be identified with my thoughts, right? I is a thought, my is also a thought. Now, I is telling that I should not be identified with my.
Yeah.
Who's that I now?
Yeah, that's something that I would like to explore.
So you understand, you understand, yes. We live by certain verbal words and, without going deeply into the meaning of it, we just superficially live by it. We superficially get arrested by it. Mm. So I'm just trying to understand. See, if meditation is calming the mind, if meditation is pockets of silence, right? Is it not okay that we just take a pill and keep quiet? It's so easy actually. Now, Dr. Priya is here, we can ask for some prescription and she can give us some prescription and we can just, pop it up and keep quiet. And you can ask, a lot of, especially in India, right? You can see a lot of people taking drugs, like especially even sadhus. I'm not talking about, not that in the US or Singapore or somewhere else people are not taking drugs. I'm just saying even here the so-called sadhus or, in Himalayas, they take some sort of marijuana, kanja, something like that. So to calm the mind. So why should you do meditation? So what is actually meditation?
Probably my friend knows, and I haven't learned it well. But I have been practicing mindfulness alone, like
No, you
keeping
can
myself
see.
quiet.
I'm not saying this or that. I am just questioning everything that comes to me, not just from Savita. See, if you understand, probably Mr. Venkat and to some extent Sheikh have gone through these Saturday sessions. We question everything. We question everything that is in the sense traditional. So in that sense, I'm not trying to individually pocket you out or direct you out. I'm just trying to understand when you say that I'm practicing mindfulness. Is it a right thing to do? Can mindfulness be practiced? Is mindfulness such a skill that it can be practiced? Is my question. I'm not saying it can be. I'm not saying it cannot be. I'm just asking, is mindfulness such a skill that it can be practiced?
So it's more like the way that what I do is like sit in quietness for 10 to 15 minutes. That's the maximum that I've been able to do. And whatever thoughts that come my way, I keep observing that as a third person. And that's what I've been doing. And that has helped me in a lot of ways.
See, as per the original traditional text, the meaning of meditation, the meaning of mindfulness, the meaning of meditation is, it is a thoughtless state.
Okay.
It's a thoughtless state. Let us be very clear. A state where there are no thoughts. Now, when you are listening to this, meditation is a thoughtless state. When you are listening to this and you are thinking now, what is meditation? You are already created a thought. Do you get it? If you are thinking now, what is meditation? How can one be without thoughts? Is it possible for one to be without thoughts? This guy is sitting in some corner of the world and saying, meditation is thoughtless state. He is also saying it is the ancient dhyana, meditation. The meaning of the word meditation, the root meaning of the word meditation comes from the Latin word me. The first word M-E, me. That is to be without any measure. If you have to be without any measure, you have to be in a thoughtless state. So meditation typically is a thoughtless state. Right? So now few questions from here. Suppose, for example, somebody says that I will teach you meditation. Now all of you have paid, all of you have come here, all that is okay. Now if somebody is going to tell you they are going to teach you meditation, it means not teaching meditation, teaching anything. Teaching how to drive, how to cook, how to work out mathematics problem, how to work the computer, how to run, how to walk, how to sleep, whatever may be the how to be, and how to meditate, for example. So how to meditate, and if somebody is telling, I will teach you how to do something, it implies that there is a technique and knowledge to be imparted. Am I right? All of you are able to follow this? If somebody is saying, I'm going to teach you meditation, it implies that a knowledge and a skill is being imparted. So after imparting that knowledge and skill to you, right, is it not that you learn that knowledge, you learn that skill, then you practice that skill? The very practice itself implies that there is an outcome. So you practice something towards a fixed outcome. So why do you want to learn a skill or a technique or a knowledge? And why do you want to practice? Because you want to see some result. So what are things implied here? There is a knowledge implied here. There's a skill. There's a technique. There's learning. There's somebody teaching. Then you practicing for what? For some fixed outcome. Now all these things implies that you are using your thoughts continuously. How do you practice something? How do you practice something without using your thoughts? Is it possible for you to practice anything, not just meditation? Is it possible for you to practice anything without using your thoughts? Is it possible? All of you are able to listen to me?
Yeah, we can listen.
So how do you practice without, how do you practice without using your thoughts? Is it possible? Please, not just meditation. It could be a programming language. It could be a computer language. It could be driving. It could be speaking communicative language. It could be a skill of public speaking. It could be reading, a skill of reading. It could be meditation. It could be cooking, anything. Driving, cycling, swimming. Is it possible to learn a knowledge, skill, technique, practice it, focus on outcome without thoughts? Is my question.
To my understanding, without thoughts, I think we cannot do or we cannot practice any skill, whether whatever it is. We need to some thoughts actually.
Absolutely, absolutely right. All of you are able to understand this. So if you are able to understand this, please understand, if I am going to teach you a technique, I am going to teach you a knowledge, if I am going to teach you a skill to learn, practice, and then focus on something outcome, it means fundamentally you are using that knowledge, skill, technique, and you are practicing it, and then you are also focusing for the same outcome. It means you are continuously, as you practice, you continuously use those thoughts. So you are defeating the fundamental, definition, meaning of meditation is to be a thoughtless state. A state where there are no thoughts. So once you start practicing, it means you start using thoughts. So the fundamental definition of meditation is to be without thoughts. So somebody is going to teach you meditation, it means they are defeating their own classical definition of what is meditation or mindfulness. Are we on the same page? See, when you have come to this session, my fundamental request, it's a request, is you be extremely open to what is being said here. Right? You fundamentally, what is being said here will shake every aspect of your knowledge, every aspect of your learning, every aspect of your past. So if you are going to be resistive, if you are going to be, as I speak, as I talk, right, as I give some input, if you are going to listen through the interpretation of your own thoughts, if you are going to listen through the translation of your own thoughts, you will miss it out. Right? So is it possible for you fundamentally to listen without the interpretation, without your own knowledge, past memory interfering? It is the question. So first, be very extremely open. You question me. I'm very open to it. Every aspect of what we are going to talk here, discuss here, learn here will be threadbarely, very intensively, torn apart. Not that you accept because I am saying it. You accept, or you look at whether it is factual, whether it is truthful, whether it is authentic, genuine. Not that it is something said by somebody who's practicing meditation, or who's having a beard and a white shirt. All these things are, because of lockdown, I'm having a beard. That's all. I'm quite cautious that not to go to the saloon and probably get myself infected with corona. So that's all. So it's not that I'm teaching meditation, I'm growing a beard. As much as, I also want to remove it, but at home I don't do it for years. So that is how it is. So don't go by the external appearance and all those nonsense. Now, meditation is a thoughtless state. If somebody is going to tell you that they are going to teach you meditation, it means two things. Either they are lying to you or they do not know what is meditation. Very simple. Because somebody has to teach you, somebody has to learn it. There are two things implied. There is implied one, when somebody has to impart some knowledge, skill and technique. Somebody has to learn that skill, knowledge, technique. After these things happen, the second thing is somebody has to start practicing it. The person who has learned has to start practicing it towards a fixed outcome. As Mr. Vignesh pointed out beautifully, to learn and practice anything towards a fixed outcome, thoughts are implied. By the very classical definition of what meditation is, it's a thoughtless state. So to be in the thoughtless state, you are creating your own thoughts by practicing it. You are defeating the fundamental definition of the meaning of meditation. Therefore, it is not meditation. So first we have to understand what is not meditation. If you understand what is not meditation, then there is a good possibility for you to understand what is meditation. So we will see what is not meditation. So in meditation, it implies there are no systems, there are no schools of thoughts, there is no learning, there is no teaching, there is no practice, there is no system, there is no process, there is no knowledge, there is no skill, there is no technique, and very, very important, there is no practice, there is no fixed outcome or any outcome. Let us be very, 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 very clear here. Let us be absolutely clear here that meditation means, I am saying what is not meditation. Meditation does not involve any practice, any system, any school to follow, nothing to follow, nothing to teach, nothing. Please try to understand this very clearly. Now, after paying for the class, coming here, sitting here, some guy sitting at a corner of the world. So somebody is sitting at the corner of the world and trying to say, after paying, now it cannot be thought, why did I pay? You are paid so that for the time you are going to invest here. And at the end of the 5 days, hopefully, we will understand what is meditation. In understanding, there is no implied thought meaning. There is no thoughts that is applied there. So we will try to understand what is meditation. So meditation fundamentally is a thoughtless state. Now, if you ask the question, how to be thoughtless state, then I have to answer it with that how with a technique. So I am defeating it. So in deep understanding, we are only looking at certain understanding, right? Nothing else. So I am going to show you something. You tell me what it is.
Just peacock feather.
It's a peacock feather. Okay, anybody else? All of you can hear me. Sheikh, Vignesh, you are here?
Yes, we can hear you.
So what is this?
Feather, it's a peacock feather, and we can see most of the time in many of the art pictures and all, we can see this. Actually.
So this is a peacock feather, right? Miss Savita, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So what is this?
The peacock feather.
Okay. Now tell me, I showed you something. Yes, by the base of the knowledge, factually you are right that this is a peacock feather. I don't deny it. Now tell me, where is it written it is a peacock feather? You all said a word, peacock, P-E-A-C-O-C-K, right? F-E-A-T-H-E-R. This is a spelling of peacock feather, right? There are two words here. Now tell me, where is this written?
It's not written, but based on our observations, maybe have seen.
No. See, please, no.
Written in the memory.
Exactly. See, please don't rush into it. Please try to answer my question to the point. right? So first I'm asking you, where is it written? Is it written here, peacock feather,
No,
for you to read it?
no.
For anybody, any one of you to read it? No. So when I showed you something, see, there are no two ways about this is a peacock feather. I'm not denying it. I'm not trying to point this and say this is something else. I'm not trying to do some nonsense here. We are just trying to understand. We are just trying to understand. So obviously it is a peacock feather. I'm not denying it. But my question is it written here? No. Now where is it written? The next question. Already Sheikh has answered it, but I like to understand more. Where is it written?
It just comes from memory.
Memory.
Or observe.
So now my question is, when I pointed out this to you, when I put this in front of the camera and pointed out this to you and asked you what it is, were you looking at what was pointed out to you, or were you looking at your own memory?
We were only looking at the feather.
Then how did you say it's a peacock feather? It is not written there. If I take a piece of paper, for example, let us assume this is a piece of paper. If I'm going to write peacock feather and ask you to read it, it is written here, but it is not written here. So where it is written?
So we have a good object recognition system in our brain.
Madam, now, sometime back you told me it is, we saw this and told it is a peacock feather. Now you are saying your object recognition system is in the brain.
Yeah.
So obviously, were you looking at this and saying peacock feather or your brain?
So there is a perception from the eyes which is connected to the brain, and therefore it retrieves from the memory in the brain.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, my question is, as I was showing you the feather, please slow down, please slow down. Don't go with traditional sense, just try to answer it. Try to observe it. When I ask a question, go back to your own thinking. I put in front of you something like this. I asked you what it is. All of you told me it's a peacock feather. It is absolutely right. From the two questions were asked, one was peacock feather or is peacock feather written here? All of you said no. And from there you further on asked, I asked, where was it written? You all told me rightly, it is written on your memory, on our memory, on our mind, on our brain cells. Now, from there I asked the other question, right? When I showed you this and it is not written there, it is written on a memory. From where did you read out that word? You are saying, we saw this and read it. So were you seeing what was pointed out, or were you seeing your memory? Is my question.
I think we were seeing only what was pointed out.
So tell me in detail, what are the shades, colors, combinations in that, what I pointed out?
There was a blue,
Okay.
an orange shade of yellow, and a green.
No, you tell me exactly the combinations. If you have been seeing that, you should be able to tell it. I really wonder whether blue color is there.
It's a blue.
So only three colors you have said. Only three colors are there.
I saw only three colors, and then the stem was in white color.
So please try to understand the very fact you have named it, and it's rightly so, rightly so. The very fact you have named it is a peacock feather, it means you have been looking at your brain, not what was pointed out. it was a momentary perception. Ms. Savita was giving me the neurological response of how vision works. That is the whole problem in meditation. That is a very big problem in meditation. That is what we are trying to understand. I had pointed out something and asked you what it is. You started responding, this is a peacock feather. That peacock feather is written on your brain, not on what was pointed out. The moment you are reading out it is a peacock feather, it means momentarily you saw what was pointed out. Just momentarily you saw. Then you went back, the perception, neurological response, brain, and you got stuck there. Now, this is called an active thought process. The moment you went back to your brain and started reading your brain, your thoughts started coming out. You have stopped seeing that actuality. The moment you started going into that knowledge, into the memory, that very moment, you have stopped seeing the actuality in front of you. Now, for example, let us say this class is going on. I can't say Shakespeare because I know Shakespeare for a very long time. I take the liberty to use his name. Or somebody else might feel very odd or find it. I tell Sheikh, are you an idiot? Are you a fool? Sheikh, are you listening to me?
Yeah, I'm listening to.
Sorry, Sheikh, I'm pulling your name.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. So if I term Sheikh, you're an idiot or a fool, right? Next day, after a week or some next time, Sheikh is coming and meeting me. How would he feel? If I'm going to call you, any of you here, idiot or stupid or nonsense or fool, right? I'm going to use some abusive language. And the next time, whenever it is, when you are going to meet me, how do you feel?
Some anger will be there.
Some sort of discomfort, some sort of anger will be there. Okay, then.
There will be fear.
Pardon?
Fear.
Some sort of fear. Okay, then. Why? Why some anger? Why some fear? Why?
Because someone has hurt us. So that is in our mind. So next time we will see.
Sir, let us say 1st July we both meet. Mr. Vignesh and I meet. On 1st July, I term Vignesh as a fool, or Vignesh calls me an idiot. Vignesh calls me a fool. 6th of July, again we are meeting after good 5 days, or let us say even after a year, 2019, July 6th, Vignesh calls me a fool, or an idiot, or a stupid man, right? After a year, 2020, July, we are meeting, right? I am feeling hurtful, I am feeling angry, I am feeling fearful, I am feeling, as Vignesh said, some sort of hurt is there, right? Now, where does that hurt arise from now?
From the mind, which is already from our memory.
It's from your memory. So when you are looking at Krishna today after a year, or when I'm looking at Vignesh after a year, am I looking at Vignesh or am I looking at my own memory?
Memory.
To me.
Obviously, as Ms. Savita said, there is some sort of neurological perception that we cannot deny. I just see Vignesh as an identity that with the past, I know Vignesh, I know Vignesh's face. I know this name Vignesh is associated with a particular face. That recoil happens. After that, I start living in my memory. That's all, done. I'm done. From there, I am very hurtful. All this hurt, all this fear, all this anger, everything is coming out of my memory only. Nothing else, my memory only. Therefore, right, you understand, the moment Vignesh and I meet, we are not connected to that particular moment of being in the now, but we are connected by the past happenings, by the memories. So when I pointed out what is this, and asked you, What is this? You are right. It is peacock feather. But I also asked you where it was written. Was it written peacock feather here? No, absolutely no. So where was it written? It was written in our mind. It was written in our memory. So as I pointed out what is this and asked you, were you looking at this? Yes, for a moment, that was a very minor stimulant. That stimulant through your eyes, through your optic vision, through your neurological response, this vision took it to your brain, memory, past, learning, knowledge, and said it is peacock feather. Movement, see, it is a very subtle movement if you are able to watch it. You can watch it. See, now as I am speaking, don't try to translate it. Don't try to interpret it or try to bring your own thoughts here. Are you able to just look at or listen to what I'm saying? And you can go through it. You can very well go through it, experience it as we talk. It is not that I am talking and you are listening. We are doing this together. We are doing this together. As much as I am showing it to you, I am showing it to myself. As much as you are reading from your memory, I am also reading it from my memory. So it is not different for both of us. It is the same. It is the human perception. It is not Krishna's perception. It is human perception. Right? So it is very important for us to understand how the human mind works. So unless until we have said meditation is a thoughtless state. So we have to really go into the depth, not sit, close your eyes, watch your breath. That will give you some sort of solace, some sort of calmness for half an hour. And you are back to the old world. You are back to the old world of suffering. That is not going to help you. Unless until, for example, now as Vignesh said, I am hurt because of my past. I am hurt because of my past. If I am going to free myself from my past, please try to understand. When I say I am able to free myself outside my past, it means I am freeing myself from my thoughts. Freeing myself from my thoughts. If I am able to free myself from my thoughts, then I am living in the present. Do you get this? Do you get this? It's a very important aspect. Now, when I say freeing myself from my memory, it means I'm freeing myself from my thoughts. So I'm going to ask a very different question. I'm going to ask a very, very different question. Right? All of you know, thinking, all of you think, you know what are thoughts. All of you know, right? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, all of you know what are thoughts. So I'm going to ask a very fundamental question. What is thinking? As I ask this question, you are thinking. So what is thinking? Outcome of thinking is thoughts. Please try to understand. The question is very important. Outcome of thinking is thoughts. Your thought and my thoughts might vary. Outcome of the thinking, you may think about, right? You suppose, let us say, I'm talking about politics. For example, I'm talking about economy or politics, right? Or I'm going to talk about movies. Then the moment we are going to think about movies, probably you are going to talk about English movies, I am going to talk about Tamil movies. Thoughts, Tamil movies is a thought, English movies is another thought. But thinking for both of us is the same. So I am asking a fundamental question because somebody has told you now, we are trying to find out, somebody has told you now, not that it is right or wrong, somebody has pointed out, meditation is a thoughtless state. Meditation has no thoughts. So outcome of thinking is thoughts. So when somebody says it's a thoughtless state, the outcome, the product of thinking is thought. The outcome of thinking. So without understanding thinking, how can you say I can be without thoughts? So I'm trying to understand what is thinking.
Thinking is relating, I may be wrong, but it's relating to what we have learned in the past. Like seeing through our memory to relate a certain situation or environment to what we know from the past.
Anybody else?
Recollecting.
Imagination.
See, imagination is one sort of thoughts. An outcome of thinking is one imagination. I imagine Shakespeare is happy. I imagine Shakespeare is sad. So that is different. That's a thought. Imagination is a part of the thought. Imagination uses thinking. Thinking out of one of the product of thinking is imagination. It's another thought. So what is thinking? As Savita and Vignesh pointed out, right? Thinking is an outcome, is a recollection process. It's a response to the past. It is response to what we have learned. Or simply put, thinking is a response to memory. That's all. It's an outcome of memory. When there's a stimuli, an outcome of that stimuli from the memory is thought. And what is memory?
Memory is a collection.
Memory is a collection of
Past experiences, and most importantly, it only looks at what has affected us on an emotional level, and it's a collection of all those.
See, simply put, memory is a collection of experiences and knowledge put together. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
And thinking is an outcome of memory.
Yeah.
Right? Memory means by virtue of memory, it is past. There's nothing new in memory. Am I right?
Yeah.
And is there a state in your life? Is there a movement in your life where you act? Act means I'm not saying that actors, cinema actors act. Action. Is there any movement in your life, any action in your life that is without thinking or thoughts? Please go into it slowly. I'm asking a question. First I ask what is thinking. Thinking is a response to memory. Right? Number one. Collection of that knowledge and experience put together becomes memory. Right? So thinking essentially is based on memory, which is a collection of knowledge and experiences put together. Now I'm asking another question. Is there any movement, even a single movement in your vacant state, a single moment where your actions have no influence of your thinking? Is there any actions without thinking, without thoughts?
In anger and fear, we act thoughtlessly.
Madam, is it not that anger and fear itself is a thought?
Anger and fear is itself a thought, yes.
Then?
When we are in a deep sleep,
Sir, I told you in your waking state.
okay.
I very clearly mentioned that.
I don't think so. For our every action of ours will have.
Suppose I ask you to plan into the future, 5 years from now, what your life will be. What will you tell me? I'm not telling please be open and share your plans. That's not the intention here. I'm just trying to understand. You need not vocally, openly tell it, but just go into it. Now, all of us are planning for the future, right? All of us are planning for the future, some aspect of a future. So what I'm trying to understand, not just 5 years, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, 3 days, 10 days, 3 months, 3 years, 30 years, whatever may be the timeline, or the next moment is future. As the past moment, the past second is past. The next moment is also future. Not that only 10 years later is future. The very next second is future. So if I have to do something into the next second, next moment, next day, is it possible for me to do anything without using my thoughts, without thinking? Huh?
No.
No. So all of us are clear here. All of us are on the same line here. All of us are same line here.
Yeah,
Now, if I have to do something into the future based on thinking only. What I know is only thinking and thoughts. And thinking is essentially based on my past memory. Memory means only past. Memory means only past. Right? Today I sit now, present, now, this moment. Whatever may be the moment now, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about my future. I'm worrying about my future. I'm happy about my future. Whatever it be, pleasant, positive, negative, doesn't matter. I'm thinking about my future. When I'm thinking, I'm using my past memory to plan into the future. Sitting today, sitting in the now, I'm thinking, I'm planning for my future. What is thinking? Based on my past. How will be my future?
It will be just like your past.
Is there any doubt in it?
No, because I am just using my memory only, and I am not thinking anything new.
All of you are able to follow this?
Yes.
Now, if I'm going to, so then present now becomes a pathway, a passage for the past to pass, to walk, for the past to walk to create the future. So your future will be like your past. Little bit alterations will be there. So for most of us, present is the passage for the past to create the future. The future will be like the past. Only the difference is, for example, when you are 5-year-old, right? You might be frightened that your mother or father will leave you alone and go somewhere. When you are 10 years old, probably you are frightened to ride a bicycle. When you are 15-year-old, you are probably frightened because of mathematics. You are afraid of mathematics or exams or public exams in India, if you are in India. When you are 20 years old, probably you are more concerned about career. You are afraid whether you will get a good job. When you are 25 years old, whether you will be able to get a good family, whether you will get a good spouse, good husband, good wife. When you are 30 years old, probably you are afraid whether I will be able to buy a car or a home. When you are 35 years old, you will start worrying about your children. Whether my child will be okay, happy, whether my income will be okay, whether I will get progress on my career, whether I will be able to. Then 40, the worries will be, no, I'm not able to pay the loan. I know a lot of people who have studied with me have grown. I'm still caught up in the middle level. I'm not gone to the upper level. So 45, 50, then probably you're married at 25, 30, 45, 50. Your son is in, or daughter is in the public stage, final exams, graduation stage, and the new fears about your son, children, daughter starts coming. Then whether he will have a good life, and then you start fearing about your parents' health and whatnot. Then another 5-10 years, your own health, your own retirement, then the marriage of your children or child or son or daughter. But please try to understand the object and object of fear changes. From 5 years to 50 years, the object of fear changes, but the fear remains the constant. From 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, there was always fear. Fear did not go. But what was there is the change of object. From 5 years, you will be left alone. 10 years, cycling. 15 years, math fear or public examination fear. 20 years, career fear, job fear. 25, marriage fear. 30, again, progression in career. 30, 35, then your children. The fear object changes. The subject of fear remains the same. So the fear right from your birth till the death is continuing, because you are thinking based on fear only. Your subject of anger remains, the object of anger changes. Your subject of desire remains the same, object of desire changes. right? So we are living within the same flow, right from birth to death. So we are sitting today and trying to find out what I am going to do tomorrow, or after 5 years, how I am planning, how I'm thinking, how my life should be in 5 years. It means I'm using only my past memory, my experience and knowledge to create the future. Then the future will be like past. So the present, for most of us, the present becomes a passage for the past to walk and flow to create the future. So present becomes a passage for the past to flow to create the future. Now, if you have understood this very clearly, what is meditation? What is meditation?
Sorry to interrupt. I like the sentence that you said. The present is a passage from past to future.
If you're able to look at it, it's a factual statement. It's a fact.
Is it living the moment?
No, I have given you a definition for meditation. What is it?
So it's a thoughtless state.
So a state where no thoughts. Am I right?
Yeah.
All of you are listening to me or sleeping.
No, we're listening.
So meditation is a thoughtless. Thoughtless means I'm not taking the negative connotation that act thoughtlessly. No. A state where there are no thoughts. It means thinking is absent. Active thinking is absent. The known thinking is absent. That's all. A state where there is no thinking. Now, why is meditation important? Please try to answer me. All of you.
Stop the old memories and believe in the present. Think of the present.
Sir, please, if you are saying believe means is it part of the past? Something unknown, how can you believe? Why should I believe anything? Am I talking to Vignesh now, or I should believe I'm talking to Vignesh?
Talking to ignition.
So belief itself is something which is very much from the past.
Is meditation a state where we don't let the past influence the present, or we look beyond the past? We look beyond the past at some to know it cannot be the exact reality anyway.
So meditation means to free. Meditation means is to free oneself. Oneself from what?
On the past.
Meditation is to free yourself from your own past. How important it is.
But is it even possible?
No. See. Today only you are. See, that is why I'm saying don't start interpreting with your thoughts.
Okay.
Right? You have not even see now. What is where does the statement come from?
Like no, but
No. Please answer me directly. Where does the statement come from?
from my thoughts.
That's a past. See how you are catching on to your past. How your past is not allowing you to live in the present. You see this. Something new is coming to you. Something extremely new is coming to you. You are obstructing that newness through your own thoughts past. Do you see this?
Yeah.
So meditation is to free yourself from your past. See, please don't take it as a philosophy or spiritual lesson. No, no, no. Let us go to an earlier example where Vignesh has called me a fool. That fool has happened a year back. That incident has happened a year back. A year later, I'm meeting Vignesh not with the newness of today, but the hurt of yesterday. So I'm still living in the past. Probably Vignesh has changed, not changed, I don't know. But I am still living in the past. Not only with hurt. Let us say Vignesh has flattered me. Sir, you are one of the best speakers. You are a very good teacher, extremely good person. He has told me last year. Today what if I meet Vignesh, I meet him freshly? No, I am meeting with that same flattery, with the same praise. That is also past, not just the hurt. So all the time when we are meeting people, when we are engaging in life, when we are having relationships, when I say relationships, not just a man to woman, husband to wife, any relationship, even with God. If God is there, our relationship with nature, our relationship with our pets, our relationship with our own religion, our relationship with our family, our spouse, our children, our in-laws, our parents, our siblings, our neighbor, our colleagues, our peers, our subordinates, our friends, right? Relationship with nature, relationship with money, relationship with wealth is all the time based on the past. It is never new, it is never fresh. So meditation, if it is right meditation, it should liberate you. Liberation is a very spiritual word. People talk about moksha, nirvana, all those nonsense. But actually it means to liberate oneself from your own past. Liberate oneself from your own thoughts. That is why meditation is such a beautiful thing. When I say the word beautiful, I will tell you what is beauty now. Not that I am telling you what is beauty, I will point it out. We will explore it. Now, when I showed you what is this and asked you what is this, you told me this is a peacock feather. Now you told me this is a peacock feather. It is absolutely right. But there are two things implied. When I pointed out, when I put this in front of the camera and asked you what is this, you told me it's a peacock feather. That word peacock feather is not written here. Please follow. This is something very intrinsic, very subtle. The word peacock feather is not written here. It is written on a memory. The moment I pointed out, put it in front of the camera and asked you what is this, momentarily your eyes, your vision registered this, and then neurological response, it took it back, vision took it back, the process of physiological, psychological response to vision, it took it back, went into your memory, went into your brain, went into your memory cells. There it is written peacock feather, and then you read from your memory peacock feather, which is this physiological, psychological process involved in vision and identification. The moment I call Vignesh idiot, right, and I come in front of Vignesh, or the moment Vignesh calls me a fool and I come in front of Vignesh, the same process happens. The same process happens. I start seeing this, I am caught up in my memory. That day that guy called me an idiot. That day that guy called me a fool. That day this guy flattered me. That day he praised me. So nice. I have to talk more with Vignesh because I feel somewhat of pleasure talking to Vignesh because he has flattered me. But with Sheikh, he has called me a stupid fellow. Sheikh has called me nonsense. Your classes are nonsense. Sheikh, I am agitated. That agitation or that pleasure is from a memory. Now, please. I have repeated earlier what I've told now. Now, as I'm just putting this down, just think, this is my left hand, my watch is there, this is my left hand. Imagine, just take it for example, this left hand is the peacock feather. I put it in front of you, I'm asking you what is this? You read it from a memory, peacock feather, which is absolutely right. You cannot do anything about it. Now, this is what the Savita asked, is it even possible for me to live that life? So far, you have not even realized how we are living. So far, we have been suffering. Day in, day out, we are suffering. When I joined the job, there was suffering. When I am leaving the job, I am suffering. For most of us, life, there are exceptions. Why? We have never asked. We have gone through because we have used our own thinking where every nonsense is stored. Every nonsense is stored. I'm sorry. And this nonsense is not just stored by your own lifetime alone. Suppose, let us say, Vignesh's age is say around 30 years, for example. Or Sheikh's age is around 35, 40 years old. Sheikh is 40 years old, right? The memory of Sheikh is just not 40 years old. It is the memory of, collective memory of the whole mankind. Do you agree to this or not?
True.
How?
No, see, it's not only that what I experience. No, I learn from, my peers, friends. Or
No, see, even that is your own learning only. You learn from different sources. See, please try to understand what I'm saying. Please I am saying Sheikh's memory or your own individual memory is not your own memory, but it is a collective memory of the entire human mankind, past, present, put together. Suppose, let us say in the past there are 1,000 crore people born and dead, and the current there are 800 crore people. Individual's memory is consisting of 1,800 people's experience and learning put together. You understand the profoundness of the statement I have made?
No, yeah, I've understood what you're saying.
But is it right? Is it factual?
So that I'm not really
Sure.
convinced.
You're not convinced. Good.
Yes.
You should doubt everything. When you start doubting your own memory. That is meditation.
Okay.
I'm not joking. It's a fact. Have you, all of you, Savita, Venkat, Vignesh, Lavanya, all of you have understood what I'm saying? Your memory is not your memory alone. Whatever may be your age, 30, 40, 45, 25, whatever may be your age, your memory is not your memory alone. Your memory is a collective memory of the entire human race, past and present, put together. And Sheikh says he is not convinced.
Actually, it's true because
How?
okay, the thing is, when we are born, right, we are imparted some knowledge from our parents. They were imparted some knowledge from their parents. For example, right, the fear of snakes, right, it's not from our own fear, right? It's from our evolution. It's all someone is imparting.
But somebody has taught you this is a snake.
Yeah, that's it is.
See, suppose your father or mother has acquired certain knowledge, but she has told you this is what, then it is your experience only. Suppose that event or that knowledge has been imparted. I am saying there is a knowledge that in your memory there's an experience and knowledge which you have not gone through at all in this 30, 40, 50 years. Not only that, your memory holds the memory of the entire human race, past and present, put together. Now, take an example. I'm going to put an example. So you observe this example. Is anybody having 2 children here? More than 1 kid here?
Yeah.
Sheikh, yes, Vignesh?
Yes, 2 kids. Yeah.
Yes. So if you are having 2 children, and anybody has seen people with 2 children?
Yes.
Yeah.
All of you have seen young children, very young children. Suppose let us say there are exceptions. Let us be very clear, there are exceptions. And exceptions cannot be the norm. Because when exceptions are very rare, exceptions cannot be the norm. Let us say Sheikh's 2 children. Let us say the first one is whatever may be the age, 3 years, and the second one is 5 years, for example. So it means there is a 2-year gap between the first and second. That's all my point is. Now, when the first one was 2 years old, Sheikh and wife had the second baby. Now, for example, Sheikh's wife, the children's mother, is putting on the lap, is holding the second baby. She is keeping the second baby on her lap because that baby is very delicate, newborn baby. All of you must have seen this, experienced this. What would the older child do?
He'll ask the mother to take him also, ask him also, keep him.
Vignesh, have you experienced this? Have you seen this?
Sometimes possessive or between these two kids. If we are for giving importance to one kid, the other kid will be a bit possessive.
No. My question is, see, when the mother or father has taken and put the child in the lap, the younger child in the lap, the older child, Vignesh is using the word. Please be very careful. Vignesh is using a beautiful word. The older child feels possessive. Am I right, Mr. Vignesh?
Yes.
The older child feels somewhat envy, jealous. Am I right?
Yes. Correct.
And the older child wants, sometimes it may start crying in some children. In some children, it may come and stand very close to the parent. Some children will try to push that younger baby. Some children will be more aggressive, try to really harm, push, pull, and try to get the attention of the parent, try to sit on the lap. All these things will happen. Now tell me, who taught that older child to be possessive, jealous, envious, push, all these things? Who taught it? Did as a parent Sheikh or Vignesh teach it, or Venkat or Savita teach as elders?
No, this automatically it is coming to the kid. No one has taught to the kid that should
So
be.
let us say the child is only 2 years old as of now. In these 2 years, the child has never been taught to be jealous, never been taught to be envious, never been taught to be quite aggressive or anything. It is seeing the newborn for the first time. It is seeing the newborn in the mother's lap, and it is showing all these qualities which it has not been taught in the past 2 years. My question is, where did the child acquire that from? As a parent, probably what you would teach, Kanna, it's a younger Papa Raja, it's your brother, it's your sister. It's a younger Papa, it's delicate. You should show love, Kanna. Now we are teaching love. Even then, for a very long time, that older child is showing some sort of jealousy, envy, and beautiful. It is possessive about the parents. Vignesh used that word, beautifully he used. He is possessive about that possessiveness. Who taught that child?
It is not thought, it is their experience, something, right? For example, see, the kid is close to the mother until now, not able to.
No, my question is, it is not been taught.
Yeah.
So
It's not.
it is innately there. That is the point now.
It's kind of fear, something is being taken away. It's there.
Where did it come from is my question.
The sense of self, like from inside this child itself.
So it is not been taught. In the last 2 years of the child's life, it is not experienced. It is the first sibling it is seeing. It is the first reaction it is doing. Now, where did it come from? Probably from the human race which we have been talking about, past and present put together. Is it not a simple evidence that our memory carries the entire burden and stupidity of the human race?
True.
Sheikh, now are you convinced?
Yeah.
Now do you see the implications, the reality of it?
Yes. I can understand the seriousness of what is.
So when I say when we say you are diversing, meditation is diversing yourself, freeing yourself from your past. It is not just the past of the 30, 40 years you are living right now. It is to free your memory from the past of the entire human race, past and present put together. If you are observing lot of things, most of the things which you exhibit as thinking, as action, is based only on your memory, and not just the memory which you have collected over the current 30, 40 years, but you will be surprised. It is very easy. If you learn to observe it, you can easily find out that you are being conditioned, imprisoned, manipulated, controlled by a memory, by a thinking, by a thought. So why is meditation so important? Now you understand. Clear?
Yes,
all of you are able to follow this. See, I am saying these are not. See, these are not just close your eyes, sit in the corner, breathe, see your breathe. I can do this, make money, and go off. But these are very, very intense things to learn. Very intense. Never before you would have. I tell very in a sense of one thing you can be guaranteed. One thing you can be guaranteed. That is where we are coming from. The value you derive out of these sessions, even Google cannot give you. Google is one of the biggest repository of knowledge ever known to mankind. What we are seeing here today, even Google cannot give you. Take it from me. That is the value if you are able to listen to me very carefully. Now, I'm coming back to something. I'm coming back here. My left hand is the peacock feather. Just imagine, just take it for a moment. As I point out what I ask this, I ask what is this? Immediately you go to your memory, you start reading your memory to peacock feather. Let us to make it pictorial representation. My right hand is that memory. My left hand is here. I ask what is this? The peacock feather. I ask what is this? The memory comes in between the actual and you. This is you, and this is the peacock feather. This is the peacock feather. When I ask what is this, the memory comes in between you and the peacock feather, right? And that from the memory, from the right hand, you read out it is peacock feather. Please follow very carefully, right? You cannot do anything about it, and you should not do anything about it. If you are trying to do anything about it, still you are only playing with your own thoughts. You are only building up your thoughts. You are reinforcing your thoughts. I am just pictorially representing what is happening when I pointed out to the peacock feather. So this is the actual peacock feather. I asked you what is this. You told me this is a peacock feather. We found out it is not written here. It is only written here. Now I am saying I am using another variable. My right hand has the memory. So when I ask what is this, you went into your memory, started reading from your memory. This peacock feather. This is the peacock feather. Okay, this is the memory. I'm sorry, this is the memory. Now, this memory, as thought, as thinking, has come in between the actual peacock feather and this. Right? This memory has come in between you and the actual. Right? Now, no more you are watching this. You are only watching a memory and you are reading it. It is peacock feather. Fine. Now. You should not do anything about it. Neither you can do anything about it. Both the statements will be very clear. Right? No. Please follow. As I show you this, very consciously, I am not using the word peacock feather. I am showing you this. When I show you this, you go back to your memory. In that memory, it is written peacock feather. And I'm only repeating the memory is written peacock feather, and you're reading from memory, and that memory, that thought comes in between you and the peacock feather. No more you're viewing the actual, you're viewing the memory. This is what we have found out. No. If you are just aware that you are not watching, you are not observing the peacock feather, you are only observing your own memory, just aware. You are not doing anything else. You are just aware that you are not looking at the actual peak of weather, and you're only looking at your memory. As you look at this, you're only looking at the memory, and you're just aware, you're not looking at the actual, and you're only looking at your memory. What do you see? What happens now? Please go through it. What I'm saying, please go through it. First, all of you have understood what I said?
Yeah, kind of.
Yes.
All of you?
Yeah.
Savita, Venkat, Sheikh?
Yeah.
We understand.
Okay.
Yes, Krishna.
Now, what is happening? What do you see? What is happening is my question. As you see the actual, your memory comes in between the actual and you. You cannot do anything about it, and please don't even try to do anything about it. You will be just playing with your thoughts, which will be manipulating it. The thoughts manipulating you. I am only trying to understand. As you see the actual, as the memory comes, you are just aware that you are not seeing the actual, but you are seeing the memory. Now, what happens is my question.
Awareness.
Now, please follow. What?
I'm studying the object very intently, like very minutely.
Now, tell me previously when you said I was looking at the object, was it the object or memory? Previously.
Memory.
Now,
I'm looking at the object very closely.
very closely. Now you are able to see details which were never seen earlier.
Yeah.
Now, you mean to say this is the first time you are seeing the peak of weather today in your life?
Probably yes. Very
No.
careful.
What I mean is this the first time actually you're seeing a peak of weather?
No.
No. You have been seeing all your life, almost for 20-30 years you have been seeing.
Yes.
But have you really seen a peak of weather?
No.
Now you asked me a question, is it possible to diverse my thoughts? Is it possible for me to live without my thinking? You asked me. Now you have showed me you are able to do it.
Yeah.
All of you, only one person is answering.
Yeah.
No, that's true. That's correct. I agree. The same here.
Yes, Krishna.
Vignesh?
Yes, sir.
Vignesh, I am not able to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree on this point.
Lavanya?
Yes, now I am aware that I am seeing a peacock feather.
Now you can see the intensity of the colors, the variation of the colors,
Yes.
more and more details. Now I have taken it out. I have taken it out of the camera, right? I have taken it out. Now see again.
I am seeing from my memory.
Now be aware that you are seeing your memory. That's all.
Yes, I am.
Once again, you be aware that you are not seeing the actual, you are seeing the memory. That's all.
Correct.
Just go ahead. Now what do you see? What is happening?
Could
So I'm
see
seeing the
some more
actual.
details.
You could see some more details.
Like
So it means you are seeing that peak of weather something new.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So every time you are seeing there's newness. Am I right?
Obviously. Yeah.
Now, Vignesh has called me a fool when I meet Vignesh, if I am aware that I am not seeing the Vignesh of today, but my own memory, I am just aware, I am not going to do anything about it. This peacock feather will not hit you. This peacock feather will not be abusive to you. But a human being will be very abusive to you, be very flattery to you. All these things will happen. But with the peacock feather, or to see the nature, it is not very easy. It is relatively easy to diverse your memory. If you are aware that you are seeing the memory, not the actual, you start seeing the actual in great detail. But with human beings, with relationships, it is not that easy. But if you are able to do it, it means you are living in the present and now. And that is meditation. That is mindfulness. Any questions? Do we have some more time? Can I take another 10-15 minutes more? Is it okay? All of you. Even if one person has some duty, we'll wind up. We'll meet tomorrow.
No, I'm okay with it.
I'm fine.
I'm fine now.
10 minutes, yeah, sure.
Okay. Mr. Venkat?
Yeah, for me it's okay.
Yeah, okay. See, now I have to introduce something else. You must have studied, read mindfulness meditation, which is being taught, which is being practiced, which is being even practiced using an app today. Right? There are so many apps in the United States. In the United States, mindfulness is almost $2 to $4 billion industry. If I have to convert it into Indian money, it is anywhere between 15 to 30,000 crores. Mindfulness is an industry which is something like 30,000 crores. Only in the United States. Oxford has a school of mindfulness. Harvard has a center for mindfulness. It's a very big business. But I really wonder what they teach. Because all of them are focusing on techniques. Any technique learned will involve a thought process. That technique will take you away from the present. That very technique will take you away from the present. But to be in the present, to be aware that you are not in the present. To be aware. See, when I showed you the peacock feather, you did not do anything. The moment you are aware that you are not seeing the actual but the memory, that itself brought you to the present. Nothing else. That is effortless. You would make no effort. Every effort in it will have a thinking based on it. Every thinking will be based on some past. Every past will create another future which will be like the past. So every effort is based on some thought and thinking, which is essentially reinforcing the past. But here there is no thinking, right? You are as you are thinking, seeing the peacock feather. It is very clear when you are aware that you are not seeing the actual, you are seeing the memory. That brought you to the actuality. Second time when I showed, Sheikh told me I could see some more details. All of you are able to tell me that I am seeing something new. Even now, it will be a wonder. You see it. Lot of new information will start coming out. Something new, something new. Every time you see a peacock feather, every time I'm seeing this peacock feather like this for ages, but you will not believe, every time I see something is there. Something beautiful is there. That is why I use the word meditation is something beautiful. Beautiful is never of the memory, never of the past. It is present. It's so beautiful. Are you able to see something new even now?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, there are a lot of studies, there are a lot of papers which says the benefits, research papers from Harvard, research papers from Yale, National University of Singapore, IITs from India, Cambridge, Oxford, so many other Tibetan, Chinese universities, Australia's University of Sydney, Washington University, so many universities, Texas, so many universities throughout the world, right? From Paris, French University, Paris University. There are so many studies that are available on net. You can go and see on Google the benefits of mindfulness and meditation. But when I say the benefits of mindfulness meditation, they are talking about a technique. They are talking about some practice. And neuroscience says that there are benefits. Now, is it not conflicting to what we are saying? Is it not conflicting to what we are saying?
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference? What is happening? You mean to say those research papers are false and only I am right? Or I am some stupid fellow sitting here and saying something nonsense without any research background?
I don't understand where the conflict stems from.
See, I am saying the more you practice, more you follow system, more you use a technique, knowledge, you are only reinforcing your past, there's nothing new. But the research says using those practices, there are enormous benefits.
Okay.
Right? But that is not at all meditation, I am saying. Is it not a conflict?
It is.
It's a conflict.
Now, whether those research papers are trash or Krishna's trash.
The benefits, what they mean, might be materialistic or something like that.
Okay. Not, see, please don't segregate this is material, that is spiritual. No, no, no. See, lot of people, lot of schools, lot of gurus, lot of centers teach meditation. They imply a technique. Now what happens is, I'm going to give you an example. You have in your home a sump. All of you know what is a sump? A underground tank where you store water from the corporation or from the government. There's a sump. Let us say the size of that sump is 500 liters. The size of that sump is 500 liters. You see, after some time, you observe in that sump, there's lot of filthy water, there's lot of dirty water, there's lot of water that is quite smelly and dirty. You try to do something, try to clean it, but eventually it gets filled only with filthy water. So you call an engineer, you call somebody to help you out. He says, he gives you a solution. Madam, sir, no problem. The problem is your tank size is small. That is the only problem. Suppose if you put 5,000 liter tank there, your problem will get solved. And you are going to pay just 50,000 for one tank, your problem is solved. Oh, fine. I cannot live with dirty water. I cannot live with filthy water. I cannot use water which is smelly and dirty. Therefore, I have gone, without understanding it, I have gone to a so-called engineer professional and he has given me a solution. He has given me, build a 5,000 liter tank, 10 times more the capacity of the current 500 liter tank, and your problem is solved. You give that advance, he starts the work, he finishes the work, and he goes away. 2 days later, the water starts coming. You see, now the same water is coming, but earlier it used to take, let us say, 1 month for that 500 liter tank to get filled. Now it will take 10 times more, because now as you the first day, if you see, the dirty water will be very less. In a 5,000 liter, the volume will be the same. But when you take the 5,000 liter tank, what you see, you will see very little water. Now you tell your spouse, it is working. You see, earlier, to the second step or to one particular marking, the dirty water will be there. Now it is very little. That engineer is a good fellow. Now I have very little bad water only. Now after a few months, half tank has come. But earlier, within a month, the tank used to get filled. You get disturbed. Now after 5-6 months, only half the tank. That tastes good, yeah. That tastes intelligent fellow. But after 10 months, what is going to happen?
Again,
Again,
dirt is going to come up.
come up. Now you are confused. Once again, for 10 months, I didn't have full tank capacity of dirty water. Somehow I was managing. Now it has come back to the original full level. Now you talk to your neighbor. I don't know, 1 year back I spent good 50,000 and that engineer is a useless fellow. I know an engineer. He's pakka. I had the same problem. We are neighbors. I had the same problem because he is also getting this water from the same source. Right? Same problem I'm having. Therefore, what I did is I went to an engineer called Krishna, for example. That engineer solved my problem. This is his number. You go and talk to Krishna. Now you go and talk to Krishna because the engineer has given you the number of Krishna. That friend, the neighbor has given you the number of the new engineer Krishna. You go and talk to Krishna. Krishna comes and studies and all that. Madam, for your lifestyle, for your house problem, even in your neighbor, you ask him. He only referred to you ask him. Let us say your neighbor is Priya. You ask Miss Priya, she has recommended me. For your problem, 5,000 liters is nothing. 50,000 liters you have to build. But it will take some charge, madam. It will take some time. It will take more money. If you're okay, no problem. I give you a guarantee for 10 to 12 years, you will never face this problem. He's right. So you entrust the work to him. You entrust advance to him. He starts the work. 5,000 liters to build, it took 2-3 days. For 50,000 liters, it may take another week or 10 days. After 10 days, after spending 5 lakhs, beautiful 50,000 liter capacity tank is built. And after he leaves, the water starts coming, the same water starts coming. And you go and look, you are very happy because only very little water is there. Earlier, 500 liters used to take 1 month. 5,000 liters, 10 months. Now, what time it will take to fill 50,000 liters? Close to 10, 12 years, 15 years. So you are not bothered about filling. Now 10, 15 years is going. But after 10, 15 years, what is going to happen?
Again, the dirt will come.
Again, you are going to face the same problem. But please answer this carefully. Watch out. Please carefully understand. Are you going to face the same problem? When you had
facing the same problem.
No. When you had a 500 liter tank, 5,000 liter tank, 50,000 liter tank. 500 liter tank took 1 month, 5,000, 10 months, 50,000, 15 years, let us say. Right? Or 10 years, let us say. So, are you facing the same problem with the 500, 5,000, 50,000 liter tank after this timeline?
Yeah. Problem means
No. Please follow it. Sheikh, earlier how much dirty water did you have? When it was a 500 liter tank, how much dirty water did you have, Sheikh?
Probably 100 liters.
Now it's a 5,000 liter tank then?
So the quantity of good water has improved and the quantity of this remains the same 100.
How?
won't it be proportionately increasing?
Increases. So earlier there was only some bad water, 500 liters of bad water. Now 1,000 liters, 5,000 liters bad water. The third engineer has given you 50,000 liters of bad water.
Yeah, it is mixed with whatever good is putting in.
So 50,000 liters of bad water is still there.
Correct. Okay.
So the problem is the same.
In fact,
it has increased very good.
It is increased.
It has increased.
Correct.
I was
not.
Okay. Yeah.
You have not addressed the problem. Statistically, it remains the same. But the magnitude you are going to face is multifold.
Okay.
Right? Statistically, it remains only, proportionate. But actuality is multifold.
Hmm.
Now, this is what is happening in the meditation they teach outside. The capacity for you to process negativity or problems or suffering or worries has been increased. They have increased your brain capacity to process more problems. Therefore, you accept more problems. End of the day, you live with more problems. Let us say you are worrying about two things. For example, you are worrying about two things. You are not able to sleep. You are going to a psychologist, for example. You are going to the first engineer. Find a liter capacity, you are going to the first engineer. You are going to a psychologist. The psychologist says, I will teach you something, some technique. He has given you 5,000 liter capacity. He has not cut out the two problems you are facing. He has not taught you how to resolve the two problems, but he has increased your capacity to process the problems more. So after coming now, you have a capacity of 5,000 liters. That means your capacity to process problems has increased 10 times. Therefore, the two problems look small. But over a period of times, you will invite 200 problems or 20 problems. Because two problems, that capacity 10 times, 20 problems you can. At some point of time, you will reach that saturation of 20 problems. You go to your neighbor. Why are you going to psychologists? These guys are, all fraud people. Meditation will help you. There's a school of meditation in Coimbatore. There's a school of meditation in Bangalore. There's a school of meditation in Rishikesh, Varanasi. There's a school of meditation in California. You go there. That guy will give you a 50,000 liter capacity. But it means your capacity to process problems has manifold increased. Your problems have not decreased. You have not ended your problems, but you have increased the capacity to. Therefore, you are inviting more worries and problems. This is what is happening outside. Are you able to see the difference? So that increase in capacity is caught up in the research papers that your brain capacity has increased. That gives a temporary relief. That gives you a temporary relief. But the weight, the burden of the worries, fears, anger, the stress keeps on increasing because you have increased it. At least earlier with 500 you would have stopped. I would prefer even you die, that's okay. But you increased your capacity to increase the filth. But if you are able to diverse yourself from the past, you are addressing the source of the water. You are addressing the source of the water. Suppose the water that comes in is corrected with good water alone. Would you require a better capacity?
No.
That is what actual right meditation is all about. In all other places, they are trying to increase the capacity. But unless until you are able to cut that line, dirty water, or clear that line, or cut that line, or make a new line, you are caught. You are done. That is why a lot of people, after some time of meditation, they get frustrated. I have done this for 5, 7, 10 years. I've seen a number of people saying this. I've sat every day morning in a corner, closed my eyes, washed my breath, the techniques, Kundalini, all this nonsense I have done for so many years. But over the years, initially 2, 3 years, I have been so good that something has changed. Probably they think something is wrong with them. Innately, that approach itself is wrong. Nothing is wrong individually with the people. Nothing is wrong with the house owner. The tank is the problem. The approach is the problem. The very solution is a problem. It is not a solution at all. It's a problem. You're only magnifying the problem. Temporarily, transiently, temporarily, it gives you relief. That relief, you think it is a very big relief. A person who has not slept for 4 days, 5 days, he sleeps today, he sleeps very well. But after a few days, he again gets into the problem 4, 5 days. So that cycle continues. Are you able to understand this? Now we are understanding here, is it possible for us to clear the water, not expand the tank? But I am also going to teach you at some stage, I am also going to teach you some technique, right? I will not say it's an expansion of the tank, but was it easy to see this without the past interfering, without your memory interfering? Was it easy? Even this is quite easy, but when Vignesh has called me a stupid, or I have called him an idiot, is it easy for Vignesh to look at me without that memory coming into it? Very, very tough. It is very, very challenging. But to relax it, to enhance that capacity, to help you to look at it without the stress, we will be teaching you certain techniques over the period of time that is called Yoga Nidra, that we will be teaching as the days goes by, right? That is different. But fundamentally, right meditation is diversing yourself from your own past, freeing yourself from your own memory, from your own past is right meditation. Understanding what is meditation is meditation. Understanding what is not meditation is meditation. You please understand that first. It is not about a technique, a thoughtless state, right? Every time it is new, every time it is new. That is meditation. To look at life daily, moment by moment, afresh is meditation, is mindfulness. That is mindfulness, nothing else. So with this, right, we'll wind up the class for today. Before we wind up, is it okay that I see all of your faces? Yeah. Can you give me a quick feedback? Questions, if any questions, please ask me any questions. And feedback, whatever you want to give. We'll start from Mr. Venkat, because almost Venkat is the first on my screen.
I've been talking with you for the past 3 weeks, right, Krishna? So my feedback is same. I can get you, I can understand you in a better way now. Yes, what you are trying to say, I can capture it. I can get it because this is not my first time I'm talking to you.
How was this session? How was this session?
Session is no, you're not teaching anything. You're not telling you, Krishna.
Lavanya, can you just mute it?
Actually, something right. Whatever you say might not be very new, very innovative things, but you are telling us certain things that we know it, but we are not able to do it. Am I right saying? These things, right? Everyone knows it, but I don't know why people are not able to get it out of their mind or understand it. Inherently, everyone knows certain things, but everyone knows that we should forget their past. They live in present, but no one is doing it.
No, see, merely saying it as an intellectual statement, merely saying it's a verbal statement has no value, has no use.
Yeah.
Right?
We need to.
Okay. Vignesh?
So the session was really good, and now I can easily understand what is really the meditation is, and how to stop thinking the past and live in the current life. And going forward with your session with some new techniques, whatever the techniques you are teaching, I hope we can learn more and more about this. It's really good, actually.
Lavanya?
We do things everyday basis. You are making us aware that we are only living by the memory, which is a very new thing for me because I have never thought through that. And being aware of what we are doing today is very important. But how do I do it? Because my memory keeps coming back to me. How do I shut that down? And I'm thinking I'm aware and I'm thinking I'm living my present, but somewhere or the other, my memories keep flashing. That's a challenge for me too. Though I understand what you are trying to tell me, but again, it's a challenge for me to see how am I going to do it. But you have made me aware that this is what is happening in ourselves. So how am I going to overcome this? I know it's not going to be an overnight job. How am I going to overcome this?
See, please don't use these words. Try to avoid usage of any word that has an implication of time.
Okay.
How to overcome it overnight?
Okay.
Will I be able to do it continuously? Will I be able to do it daily? Is it possible? These are all implication of time. Time means
Okay.
past, not future.
Okay.
Time means past. Please try to understand. When you
Okay.
use the word, is it possible for me to do it continuously? If you're asking this, your memory is questioning you. It is mean past.
That's what.
It seems that you're talking about the future. Will I be able to be like this continuously? Diverse my memory. The statement implies, it seems to imply future, but the past is only talking.
That's okay. Okay. Yeah.
Will I be able to overcome it? Is it possible? Every question of time is based on past. Every question of time. To live a timeless life is meditation. Time and thought are same. Time and thought are same. Thought creates the time, and that time takes the thought forward. Please try to understand this. Thought creates the time. Time is not available to you. Time by the watch is available. Time is future. Where is it available? It is not available. Thought creates future based on the past, and then it continues. So don't ever go it. Is it possible for you to be in this moment, being aware?
Okay.
If you are losing that awareness, be aware that you are losing your awareness. That is enough.
Correct.
Right?
Okay.
Savita.
Yeah, when I first started, when the session first started, I was a little scared of of my responses, and I was very thoughtful. Thoughtful as in I was very careful. I tried to be careful and whatever, but now I have a kind of comfort in conversing with you. That's something that level of comfort is something that doesn't happen in a day, but you have made the session really very interactive, and opened us up to be to get that kind of comfort. So thank you very much for that. That doesn't happen in a day usually. Thank you very much.
I'm glad to know. I'm glad to know that.
Yeah, and today's session for me was like two important learnings for me. Like your illustration of your left hand with right hand, right? Your memory comes between the observation, and that's a very important learning for me. And also how the past is a passage in the present to the future. So these two are very important learnings for me, and I thank you very much for that.
Okay, Sheikh.
Krishna, whatever I've learned in this session is, to be very frank, everything is new to me. I've never whatever you have spelled out today, most of it, everything is just fresh for me and new to me. I've never ventured in my past also to learn what is meditation and stuff like that. So there was tons and tons of expectation types, and I think I enjoyed it really, because I was completely with an open mind. So yeah, it really made me happy, and I'm mindful now for this session.
Thank
yes.
You. Now,
thanks, Krishna, for the same.
Most welcome, Sheikh. Now comes the hardest part about the session. If no one has told you about the session, that now comes the critical part. I give homework. Like school children, I give homework. Are you ready for the homework today? Home assignment?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is fear? What is fear? I want you to find out and come back and tell me what is fear.
Okay. Yes.
I want to tell one thing, Krishna. This you were telling right about these techniques. I 100% concur with what you said. Most of these techniques doesn't help. I had seen it, and I had seen it from people also. inherently, if you don't change basically certain things, right? These techniques are just like that only. It's only, it helps at a particular time only. It's very, very true. I had experienced it.
So one homework is finding out, discovering, observing what is fear. Second, right? Tomorrow, see, you need not come and tell me. Fear, you have to come and tell me. Right? The second homework, the second home assignment is throughout the day from now till you sleep, right? Is it possible for you to be aware where you have not been aware? I am not asking you to be aware every moment. No, I am not asking. Please try to understand the question very clearly. I am not asking you to be aware all the time. Right? I am asking you to find out as the day goes by, where are the places, where are the moments where you have not paid attention. Attention, awareness, consciousness, mindfulness, meditation all implies the same. So wherever you have not paid attention, wherever there was inattention, can you be attentive of it is my question. All of you are able to follow what I am saying?
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Can you just make it a little bit clear? So
Now, Vignesh, Mr. Vignesh, I am not asking you to be concentrating or aware all the time. No. I am not asking whether you can be aware the whole day. No. I am just asking you to find out, right? Throughout the day, as you work, as you live, as you eat, as you sleep, as you bathe, as you talk to your children, as you fight with your neighbor or spouse or with yourself, you talk to yourself, whatever it may be. I'm not saying these are things you're going to do. All of us in our day-to-day life, we are doing this. That's what I'm saying. So is it possible for you to understand where all you have been inattentive, where all you have not been aware, where all you have not been mindful, where all you have not been meditative? So meditation is not a particular time. Meditation is being in a life. Meditative life is more important, not meditation time. Meditation time increases the capacity to process more dirt. Meditative life cuts that flow of dirt. This is the difference. So I'm asking you to explore meditative life, not a meditation time. All other courses outside focus on meditation time. Half an hour you close your eyes. I have learned MA Yoga. Trust me, I can teach you meditation. The classical traditional meditation I can teach you. Much better than a lot of people. I'm a good teacher. I know that for a fact. I've also done my MSc psychology. So combined together, I can teach you a lot of nonsense. Trust me, I can teach you a lot of nonsense. Right? But I only increase the dustbin capacity for you to process more dirt. That is not my intention. Right? That is not what we are here. We are here to explore meditative life. So is it possible for you from now till you go to bed? Is it possible for you to be aware, find out, discover where all you have been inattentive, where all your memory has come in between, where all the thoughts have interfered, where all, every worry, every fear, every anger, every emotion has a thought passed into it. So I'm asking, don't do anything about it. Don't try to correct it. Don't try to change it. Don't try to judge it. Nothing. Just I want you to be aware where all you have been inattentive. So when I showed this and asked you what is this, when you say it's a peacock feather, you are inattentive. Now, if I call, for example, if I call Dr. Priya as an idiot, now on Priya's face, is it idiot written or my face, my brain?
Your brain.
Probably it's the fact too. Every day you call me that only.
So when I use a language against somebody else, is it written on that person or on my brain?
right.
Ours.
So when I judge others, actually what I'm doing, I'm judging myself.
Correct.
I can say, for example, Lavanya is screaming. For example, I'm saying Savita is screaming, for example. But if I'm going to say Savita is talking like a stupid, idiot, foolish woman. Stupid, idiot, foolish woman, where it is written? On Savita's face or Krishna's face?
Mhm.
Very
Yeah.
clear. So I am just asking you throughout, this is a home assignment. Is it possible for you to be aware, to be attentive? All these words imply the same. Is it possible for you to be aware, be mindful, to be aware, to be attentive, to pay attention to what you are doing throughout the day, and to find out, just to find out where all you have been inattentive? That's all. I'm not asking you the whole day be aware, be mindful. No, 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 no. All that is not needed. Just to find out where all you have not been mindful, where you have been mindless, where you have been thoughtless, where you have been, just going with your memory, just going with the past. You just try to find out, and tomorrow we'll meet. And by that time, so what is fear? Tomorrow we'll start the journey into fear.
Okay.
Unless until you understand fear, unless until fear comes to an end, immediately you will have a question. Can fear come to an end? That's all. You are done. You are caught. Be open. So unless until fear comes to an end, meditative life is impossible. So tomorrow our journey begins with fear. What is fear? Right?
Okay.
All of you enjoyed?
Yes. Thank you very much, Krishna.
So thank you so much. I have taken extra some hours. I'll charge you separately for it. I'll send you the bill.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Good day.
Good day.